Welcome to this latest community conversation at Levine Music. My name is Evan Meier. Today, we are marking Women's History Month by exploring the lives and music of three talented composers who led varied and interesting lives and whose careers were shaped by significant obstacles. My guest is violinist and Levine faculty member Annabelle Berthomé-Reynolds. She's a winner of the trophy Josephine, which honors women whose bold paths inspire the next generation. Annabelle is a recording artist committed to bringing lesser-known composers to wider audiences, and her album of Grażyna Bacewicz's complete violin sonatas received critical acclaim from BBC Music Magazine and Apple Music. Annabelle will introduce us to the music of Bacewicz, as well as other composers she's passionate about. Annabelle, thanks so much for joining us today. So you've really made it a priority to seek out composers who've been sort of unfairly overlooked, really skilled, but they don't come to light in a performance hall a lot. So what guides you in selecting the music that you decide to perform?
First of all, I choose music which speaks to me emotionally, and technically I look for challenges. And I'm really drawn to giving justice to people who have been unfairly forgotten, like Bacewicz, but like Mariho, Ethel Barnes, for whom I make scores reprinted. So I search a lot through the archives. I make research about composers, and as a pioneer, I draw lines and I make connections, and all of a sudden, there is a composer who comes out, and I realize how much has been not played or performed or recording, and I decide to look at it more deeply. I play, I sight read, and things get clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So how did you come to Bacewicz? Like, what drew you to her music?
I was playing with a pianist in Belgium, and we had to prepare for a program, and we thought we could, pay a tribute to a woman. And so we started looking at different composers, but not the usual that we know, like Clara Schumann or Fanny Mendelssohn, but, who else? And then we came across Bacewicz, third sonata it was, we programmed, and I just literally fell in love. So the first time I was actually sight reading it at home, I kept texting her all the time, say, this is a gem, this is a gem, this is a gem. So I knew something was happening, and then I discovered the whole world around her. Bacewicz was mainly played in Poland. At the time, in Belgium and in France, very, very, very few people knew about her. So I started, ordering everything, and sometimes, reprinting things. So this is how it started.
And then you went on to record
the
complete set of violin sonatas.
I already recorded the complete sonatas for violin and pianos by Charles Ives, and who's an American composer. And I wanted to do one more complete recording. So that was a great opportunity. And also it was really worth it. I didn't do it because she was a woman. I didn't do it because it had never been done in such a way. I did it because music is good, simply.
And she also led such an interesting life. So she's Polish-Lithuanian, born in Lodz near Warsaw, and then goes on and studies in Paris with Nadia Boulanger, and then maybe you could take it from there. What other highlights?
Yes, she was incredible because she was a violinist, a composer, a concertmaster, and a pedagogue. So she was born in 1909 in Lodz, which is the second city in the country, and now the Academy of Music bears her name, actually. And then before the war, she's actually mainly a violinist and a concert, a performer, a competitor. But if you listen to archives of herself playing herself, actually. She premiered most of her sonatas with her brother, Gracious. And it is a stunning technique. She was really phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And then comes the war. She's sent to the border with Ukraine, right? But anyway, even that, she has her violin and she keeps practicing. She starts composing and she prepares clandestine concerts. And for me, this is an act of pure Bacewicz, which I think we find in her music. An act of resilience, an act of structure, fairness somehow. But she was a strong woman.
So then after the war, a new sort of Soviet-backed regime takes over in Poland, and she settles into a life as a composer. And this was after a car accident.
Yes, the two are actually connected, but she tried to play also after the car accident. It's just progressively she realizes that composing is actually easier than maintaining such a fitness. To play at this level, you need to really play every day for 5 to 8 hours. So it's a lot, and she was really, she battled against death for 2 weeks.
So let's look at the piece that you wanted to talk about with us today. This is a little bit before the car accident. So this is the Violin Sonata number 4 from 1949. So I'm wondering if you could talk about a little bit about her compositional style and how she fit into that post-war, landscape in Poland.
So for me, there is a strong influence of Bach in her music regarding the structure. That's very important. Actually, at some point she says something which is actually dear to me in my own practice and performance. She says that with Bach, every structure is an emotion, and every emotion an iron structure. It was a way to also fit, the artistic and aesthetic decrease, post-war, where you had to fit a certain mold, not to go too much outside the box, right? Yes. So in some ways she tried to do just what's enough and then expressed further. And the more we depart from the war, the more she takes, freedom. So in the second movement, for instance, of the Sonata number 4, the first theme is just very, very big and intense, very, very big. And then second theme is something else. It's much more, it's much lighter.
So you specifically wanted to focus on the second movement of this piece. So this is kind of this slow, it begins with these like murky piano chords, and then the violin enters with this like very stark sounding melody. I'm wondering if you could sort of describe for us the landscape of the opening of that piece.
I think we should ask Bacewicz to be sure of the landscape she had in her mind. But for me, Sonata number 4 is maybe the most Brahmsian of Bacewicz. So I find some purity, but intensity in the vibrato, intensity on the G string.
So that very first tune that you play is on the G string.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what does that sound like?
I can show you.
So it's this like very bare, like fairly simple.
It's
melody.
Very simple if you think about it. You could play it, with very few years of practice, but there is so much depth in meaning behind it. There is an engagement, basically. It's intense. I have to hold it. The phrase is long somehow, if you think of it. It's 66 per quarter. It's one big breath, which was really deep.
So moving ahead a little bit, we have a second tune that comes to prominence. It's in C sharp minor, so she's still using the old tonal system, but with like these little off notes that like, oh, where does that note come from?
Exactly.
And there are harmonics in it. So
Yes.
it's got these kind of modern colors, but
Yeah.
it still sounds like an expressive
It's very expressive.
melody.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's move on. So Elfrida Andrée, another composer that you wanted to feature and you've performed before. So what can you tell us about her?
She is so Elfrida is Swedish, and her father is a doctor on ships. So he happens to travel a lot. Well, she was born in 1841, but at the time, we are at the very beginning of labor movement, of women's right movement. But her father travels, and he gets interested into politics, and he comes back. I mean, he's hearing things here and there from the different places he travels to and from, and having a little Elfrida, who's she's a tough cookie. He wants to educate his daughters as his son, no difference. But at the time, it was not so easy, even as a young girl, to just attend a music conservatory. It was reserved for men.
But she did end up at the Stockholm Conservatory.
Absolutely. And even more than that, she had a very close relationship to her father, as we can see, and he helped her. He helped her doing two incredible things. She wanted to be a professional organist as a woman. And for this, they sued together the authorities. And they won.
So the piece you wanted to focus on was her piano trio in G minor.
Yes.
So I had not listened to this before. This was a real treat. So when I was listening to it, I was thinking, oh, this is like a lost work of Mendelssohn. So it's definitely in that school.
Yes.
Both of her teachers studied in Leipzig. So that, there was that strain, the Leipzig school. So they balanced the classical forms with this romantic ear for melody. And you definitely hear that in this piece, I think.
Absolutely.
But she's not. She's bringing something else, like a personal compositional voice to this. I was wondering, like, what in terms of that do you hear in this piece?
I hear, but maybe this is my own impression or feeling. I hear some Nordic sounds, if I can say, big jumps, followed by usually close notes together. Semitone, semitone, or tone. After a big jump, you have this connection, intensity, a lot of intensity, and sustained voice, which I find, it's typical of Elfrida Andrée. That's what I found. But yes.
So the first movement,
Yes.
it's a big sonata form. So you have these two themes that are contrasted with each other. And the first theme is, this sort of big soaring theme in G minor, very high register. Do you think we could hear that?
I think we can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, the thing that you said about the Nordic elements, now that you pointed it out, there's some, some accidentals like sharps in the tune that, you hear in some of the Nordic composers. So
yes. That's my own.
Yeah.
One little key of, reading. That's all.
And so, in a classical sonata form, you're contrasting two themes against one another. And so this second theme, it's more lyrical. She marks it
tranquillo as well. Usually I take it a drop slower. Mm-hmm.
So how do you approach that shift in expression, from from the big theme to the more lyrical theme?
With a lot of fun. I'm curious and I love, diverse themes within the same movement with a lot of fun. I love it. I guess I put myself into another condition, another emotion, right? And rhythmically I change my pace. I change my biorhythm to fit the new moment, as if it was like a drama piece. So the character evolves over time, or when he or she changes room, and you follow the story. But this is the same player, just having different moments of life.
What does that mean? You change your biorhythm?
I make sure my heart is a little slower.
You can control that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Well, it helps to play on stage. Yes.
Certainly helps with nerves.
Yes. I mean, there is a lot we can actually transfer mentally to our muscles, nerves. It requires training, but yes, we can teach it as well.
Very interesting. So moving on, Sofia Gubaidulina was the last composer you wanted to talk about. What can you tell us about her life?
Well, she's Russian, but from Tatar origin. She was born in Kazan, which is the main city there.
1931?
1931, and she passed away just 1 year ago in March 2025. She's a very prolific writer. Although she spent the first 30 years of her career as a composer to compose for children's music and mainly film music. Basically, she had been admitted to the Composers Union, which is, the sine qua non condition to be a professional composer in the former USSR. And to work and basically have a living, she composed mainly for films for 30 years. Mm-hmm. Before career took such a size and it's so emphasized everything. She's got commissioned from all over the world. So
this is around 1980 when her music makes its way out of the Soviet Union.
And then she moves to Hamburg in Germany, I think she moved in 1992. She moved to Germany.
So what was it about her compositional style that sort of made her disfavored in the Soviet Union, but suddenly her music is being performed at festivals, throughout Europe and the United States?
Let's say, I don't think we can say that Sofia Gubaidulina fits the mold. So if the aesthetic direction of the government is to fit, she was not the best candidate, let's say. What I like about her is that we have always dualities. So she was born at the frontier the natural frontier of Russian Central Asia and Europe to the west of the Ural Mountains. Mm-hmm. So already in her, she's at the border of two cultural regions. Large natural region. So we can see that her music translates actually this duality. So there is tradition, but also avant-garde. So that's the first prism. Another one is the East juxtaposed to the West, as you say, when she moves to Hamburg. Yeah. And also another thing, she really puts a focus onto that, the soloist vis-a-vis the group. Mm-hmm. So the orchestra or the chamber orchestra. And in her last concerto, for instance, violin concerto, which she wrote for Vadim Repin in 2018, it's called Dialogue, Ich und Du, which in German means dialogue, I and you. And she is fascinated by the relationship of one being with a group. But more than that, she's fascinated by the relationship that mankind has with God.
So you were talking about the dialogue piece, the violin concerto Ich und Du.
Yes.
And I was reading about this, and it's this terminology I and you is drawn from the work of Martin Buber.
Yes.
Who, and I'll read this here.
Thank you.
He developed a philosophy based on two relationships that describe people's interaction with the world. I, it, a relationship with the world as object, and I, you, a relationship of genuine mutual presence. So do you hear any of that in the piece
yes.
itself?
Strongly, because the violin phrases, the voice is strong. You have to hold it. You know, it's really like David and Goliath, but basically, it's a strong soloist voice. It's not just singing. You have to keep your feet on the ground and defend your opinion like a manifesto. There's nothing that Gubaidulina does which is not strong or I can't say radical. That's not what it is, but she is very clear about her opinion, her idea.
She has a very clear vision that she's trying to express, and it's just a very unique sound. Her music, you know, you can't mistake it for anyone else.
No. And she loves also mixing rare instruments, Japanese instruments, or she's very fan of these free bass accordions. I think it must be her beloved instrument. But she can mix a lot of, I would say, unusual instruments together. And that's what can make her distinguishable because of that unusual formation.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today and sharing these remarkable composers.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So what really strikes me about today's conversation is that this music exists because these women were determined to compose regardless of what stood in their way. And we're hearing about it now because Annabelle is determined to make sure we hear it. So thank you.
It's a little stone to the edifice.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.